At this point, 23 minutes, 8 seconds to 24 minutes, 3 seconds, Tunji asks myself, why don't the planets pull into the sun and create a star holocaust? Also, he said in this question, why don't the planets, if gravity is the accumulator or mason that attracts and keeps attracting, why don't the planets keep adding onto the sun to make it bigger? And he also asks, what locks the planet in place? All very good questions. And they were answered. And today I chose that we can elaborate on some of the answers after looking at and reviewing the class myself. Before I get there and answer these questions again, Pete, let me ask your experience about why do you review classes?
Well, based on my experience, the classes are reviewed because you want to, at least if you're the teacher of the class, you want to go back and look at how you answer the question, how you're doing an analysis of how people are receiving it and how you can improve and how you can make things easier for the listener, the audience, as well as yourself. And if there's any error that was made, you can go back and make corrections.
All right, that's totally correct. Yeah. In regards to the questions about why don't they just cause a star holocaust if gravity is just pulling and attracting? Why isn't there a star holocaust? What happens as why the accumulation of planets just don't add onto the sun to make the sun bigger? And what's locking the planets in place, right? The actual planets themselves arise from the core, originally from the electrical sparks given off by the additional gases when that combination of hydrogen and helium is taking place with those millions and millions of hydrogen and helium exchanges. Eventually, gases, electrical sparks get shot out, and they then go to a certain distance because of the value of the sparks. And then at that point, gravity holds them in place. And then they start attracting from the matter around to accumulate, accumulate, accumulate. And gravity holds that planet in the particular position until it becomes a fully fledged bona fide planet and then continues on to the orbits of planet. And what happens is that the planet itself then displaces its own weight, like when you throw a ball into the water. The planet itself is the equivalent where you've thrown the planet into the atmosphere. It displaces its own weight and then settles in that particular position, which is all being done by gravity. Now, what's so interesting, gravity is holding the planets in position, and at the same time, all the planets do fall into the sun. But in the motion of rotation or circulation, let's call it, right? Like when you're on a joyride and you're on a joyride, or when you take two people are holding hands and they're swinging and they're going round and round, they're holding hands, you've seen it and you've probably done it, and you swing and swing, go round and round. One, if not both of you, feel like you're going to release from the person you're holding hands from and fly off. Well, there's a similar activity what happens in the rotation of the planets around the sun. Gravity's pulling the planets one way, but there is a counter going the other way where a centrifugal force stops the planet from leaning in and being absorbed by the sun. So that's why the planet does not end up in its rotation, though gravity is pulling it in, it doesn't end up being pulled into the sun because of the opposing centrifugal force that's pulling it the other way. Also, what is so interesting is this. You have a situation that the actual solar winds or stellar winds of the sun, an interesting phenomenon occurs where when the planet in its motion and the sun in its motion are doing its thing, you have what you call stellar winds. There's a certain amount of sun winds that gets offset out of the galaxy. You have an even exchange going on for the balancement of the universe or balancement of the galaxy, where a certain amount of gravity is pulling on stuff one way, but a certain amount of stellar winds cast out atoms the other way to keep a balance in the solar system. And this is happening in all stars. So you have gravity pulling in one way, and so that material or that force is pulling one way, but equally you have a certain amount of stellar winds going the other way, and that too is a balancement that stops star holocausts or the accumulation of gravity with no counter. If I take you to page 114 and I read where it says, and talking about the Big Bang, it says, does all this just happen by chance? No, it is a master plan with countless experiments. One such being is referred to as Who, the creative force of will, and this entity dwells outside of this time zone. The reason why that is important is because how did these balances, like centrifugal force to offset gravity pulling in matter, the offset of stellar winds, ciphering off atoms out of the solar system, and the gravity force pulling in matter into the solar system. Stellar winds pushing away, gravity accumulating. There's a balancement there. How did this all take place? Because we're looking in from the physical, not realizing that these are that which was performed in the etheric world via countless experiments before the black print was done, and then the rebang, and keep it simple, the Big Bang was performed, knowing what would happen when gravity would build the sun and build planets. This is all done on the plane of force. This is all done prior. Keep it simple. You have a blank canvas as an artist. The blank canvas was a degree of ether, degree of space. On that blank canvas is where he did all these experiments before finalizing the black print that resulted in our universe today.